Welcome to Road to Recovery.
Welcome to the Road to Recovery, Advocacy and Insights for Trucking Accidents with Sagi Shaked. Sagi is the founder of Shaked Law, personal injury lawyers, and is ranked one of the top 100 trial lawyers in the United States by the American Trial Lawyers Association. With a wealth of experience in personal injury, wrongful death, and complex litigation cases, he passionately advocates for victims and has recovered multi-million-dollar settlements in damages for his clients. I'm your host, Sophia Morales, and today's episode is Follow the Trail: How to Identify Everyone Responsible in a Truck Crash. Welcome, Sagi. I'm so happy to have you here with me today.
Hi, Sophia. Thanks for having me.
So let's get down to brass tacks here. After a serious truck accident, most people immediately think, well, I should sue the driver. But is it really just the driver's fault?
So, definitely suing the driver is important, but that's not where it ends. There's definitely more than the driver that we want to go after. So, the initial start is the driver, and then everything else comes after that. You don't want to, if you're representing someone or if you have a case, don't just think driver and in there, because then you're doing really an injustice to yourself and the client.
Okay, so who else would possibly be responsible besides the actual truck driver?
So I would start again. We start with the truck driver, then you have the trucking company. And so they're called a motor carrier. And that usually employs the truck driver. Sometimes there's a hidden motor carrier, so there's someone else to look at. Then, in order to get that load wherever they're going, they have to have had someone broker that load. So sometimes you have a broker, and the broker can be on the hook if they basically get a motor carrier that's not experienced or has bad driving record or has had other issues that don't align with what the federal motor carrier safety regulations say is a safe motor carrier. The other person we may look to is the shipper. So sometimes the shippers, they stock the 18 wheelers, they stock the trailers wrong, and that can cause a car to flip over or turn over, or when they're taking a turn to flip. And then the other people that we could sue is the manufacturer. Sometimes you sue the tire manufacturer, sometimes the manufacturer of the brakes. And then other times we've had cases where you sue the manufacturer for having what they call the automatic emergency braking system. Just like you're driving a car right now, and any car, I think from 2017 forward, you start seeing that sometimes the cars come to a stop for you. The
Yeah, they
trucking
have a mind of
company,
their own.
yeah, they do. And so trucking companies, the technology has gotten really good where they can stop some of them at the speeds of 70 miles an hour. They're not going to stop on a dime like a car would, but they can get those vehicles to stop. And so the computer is thinking for the driver. That doesn't mean the driver shouldn't be thinking, but sometimes computers make mistakes, right? We've seen it. Sometimes our computers freeze, or like before we started this episode, I had camera issues. So computers do make mistakes. So that's who I would look for: driver, trucking company, broker, shipper, manufacturer, the different types of manufacturers. I'd look through all that.
Okay, so let's go through each one of those and break it down. Starting with the driver, what are some of the most common ways a driver is found responsible for one of these accidents?
Sure. So it really depends on the type of crash. Sometimes you see drivers who are negligent because they're speeding. You have some speed demons, and you have someone who's driving 80,000 pounds down the street, or on the highway, and that could cause really bad collision. You see that a lot where there's multiple cars piling up. In fact, we just got a case today where you can see the driver who, when you're sitting in an 18 wheeler, you have a higher advantage. You see a lot more than what a car would see. So as the driver's making a left, the driver says he didn't see the scooter, the guy that's riding the scooter in the street. And how do you not see him? Usually you're in a better vantage point than someone who's in a scooter. So the
Yeah.
drivers making left-hand turns, speeding, driver fatigue, that's an issue, not only against the driver, but that's also against the motor carrier. We have a case right now where a FedEx driver is on the phone because on FedEx cases and a lot of other trucking companies, you see there's the dash cam, and then there's the cam that sees what's going on in front of the cab and one inside the cab. So that could give you a different perspective on what's going on. We have drivers who are under the influence of a narcotic or alcohol, and then some drivers just being careless in how they're driving. So when that's how I would look at it, those are generally where you see the drivers being reckless or negligent for that matter. Again, the one with the FedEx case where they're making a left-hand turn and you see them on the phone, it's ridiculous. What are you doing driving a big truck on the phone? You're endangering everybody on the road, but people still do it. So the question is, how do we hold the driver responsible? How do we hold all these other parties responsible? Some cases, it's only the driver and the motor carrier, but some cases it's a lot more.
Okay. And speaking of the motor carrier, or what I would have called a trucking company, how do they get pulled into a lawsuit like this?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, what's under the law, there's something called respondent superior or vicarious liability. You, as the employer, are responsible for your employees' actions. So, that's the first way you can do it. So, they call that vicarious liability. The other way is sometimes they're hiring drivers that shouldn't be hired. So, they could be negligent in hiring or negligently in retention. They're retaining a driver who continues to cause accidents or continues to speed. And sometimes there's supervision. So we have a case going on right now where the truck driver has been in multiple accidents and they have what's called telematics. So telematics is an AI kind of software where the dash cam inside the cab looks at the driver as sort of like the camera's looking at me now. And if the driver's nodding off or making fast turns or swerving, the AI is going to ping and send an email to the supervisors or
Ah,
whoever's monitoring that driver. And so that would tell the supervisor, hey, you've got a problem here. This person's fallen asleep. He may have fatigue issues, or maybe this person's a speed demon, or this person constantly is running red lights. The AI will tell it because the AI is looking forward and backwards. So AI is change. It's a game changer, one for the trucking industry because it's keeping more people safe on the road. If right, people are using the data that they get from the AI. If you're not using it, then it's just lip
it's,
service to safety is what it is,
yeah,
and
it's
that's
just that
not what
much
we
more
want.
noise. Yeah.
So what we really want is, hey, if you're getting the data, make sure you use it. Because the case I have right now, where the guy is on the phone, we knew that he has prior incidents where he was in an accident before. He's had multiple violations that the AI has found. And, why did they put him back on the road? They had a shortage of drivers, which seems to be a theme with trucking companies. So the
Mm.
trucking company, again, could be responsible under that vicarious responsibility. You're my employee. You're responsible for what you do. The company is. And then you have the negligent hiring, supervision, the negligent training. If they didn't train the employee properly, we've had cases like that as well.
So back to that long list of folks who could possibly be responsible, how does the broker get pulled into this? What's their role and how do they pick up liability?
Yeah, so the broker is very interesting because the broker is going to put together a shipper. So they put the shipper and the trucking company together, and that's their job. They're the middle person, middleman, middlewoman who makes sure everything connects. And so the broker's job is not just hire any type of trucking company. It needs to hire a safe company with a safe score. So the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration has on their website, it's called Safe Persist, and they basically analyze every trucking company out there and they give them a safety rating. So if the safety rating is poor, why are you going to this company? Is it money driven? Are you trying to save some money? Or is the broker trying to make extra money because this motor carrier is giving more of a spread on that load? And so the broker is thinking only money, 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 instead of what they should be thinking is, hey, safety, safety, safety. When you have 4,000 people a year dying from, truck accidents and so many others getting hurt or concussions or major injuries. So the broker's on the hook if they make a decision to put the wrong driver or the wrong motor carrier on the road. So that could happen.
And as a shipper, how would a shipper be responsible for all of this? It seems like you should be able to just have the broker find the right guy and there you go.
So the shipper, they have their own liability. What do I mean? The shipper, so generally an 18 wheeler goes and they get to the dock where the shipper is, and now they have to load the cargo, right? But the
Mhm.
truck driver is not the one that loads the cargo. It's the shipping company. So sometimes you see shipping companies, they put too much of the cargo in there. So the truck is weighing too much, and that makes it dangerous. Dangerous when it's turning, dangerous when it's driving, dangerous when it comes to braking. Because when a truck driver brakes, it's going to take a lot longer to stop. And the more weight they have, the harder it is to stop that vehicle. And then sometimes when the shipper loads the cargo, they're not loading it equally on both sides. And so you're going to have a cargo that can, a truck that can tip. So those are the same things. Also, if the shipper knows that this trucking company has a bad safety record, they could be dragged into this as well. So the shipper and the broker, why are they, they may be in cahoots. So those are the kinds of things we're looking for from the shipper.
And back to like the actual truck and the parts that are manufactured and put on that truck, how do they fit into the picture?
So if there is a mechanical failure, let's start, for example, with a tire blowout. We all know tires are not supposed to blow out, but they do. And when they do, can you imagine an 18-wheeler that's barreling down the road? A blowout happens, how many people can get hurt? So if the tire manufacturer has a defective tire and that causes, the 18-wheeler, the cab, or the trailer to roll or to just cause damage, or imagine it's a gas tanker and the tire blows out. Talking
Yeah.
about, and I've had this case where,
Fireballs.
yeah, people get burned. It's hard. It's horrific. So that's one way. Another way would be brake failure. That could be servicing. Here's another person to go after, the service provider. If it's a mechanic shop that's not doing their job or didn't service the brakes, we had a case where not the second, but within minutes of leaving the service provider and they went on the highway, a wheel flew off the 18-wheeler.
Oh
So
no.
it happens, and it caused a tremendous wreck and horrific injuries for people. We talked about earlier the automatic emergency braking. So this is relatively new technology where you start seeing it on the road. You've seen it a lot in cars. Everyone's experiencing it, like you said earlier, Sophia, where you have it and your car has a mind of its own and it just comes to a stop, right? So here, they're testing this technology because they're trying to make the roads safer. And hopefully that technology works. We have one right now where the technology didn't work and the vehicle smashed into another human being and he lost his legs, had to have the legs amputated because the AEB system did not work. So those are things that we're constantly looking at, trying to be creative to make sure we get our clients the full measure of justice.
Yeah, and you mentioned you can't just stop at the driver. You need to look at like every link in the chain, and I imagine that impacts the amount that you can recoup for someone as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you have someone with horrific injuries or a wrongful death case or a catastrophic injury, you really have to look, search, and continue to search and not stop searching at the driver or the company because it's not fair to the client, to the victim, to the families when there's someone else that's responsible and they're getting a free pass. So that's kind of why I do this podcast. I want to educate other people and lawyers out there to look, to find, to not give up and not take the easy money, what's called the low hanging fruit. You got to do the work to get the results. If your clients are hurt, it's your job, it's your obligation to help them and to get them justice. So again, don't just go for the low hanging fruit. There are, and I've had broker cases, I've had shipper cases, I've had the hidden motor carrier case. These cases are out there. You just got to look and do the work. And if you're not sure, you could always call me. I'll walk you through it. I'll help you out.
So, what are your final thoughts for anyone out there, whether they're an injury victim or another lawyer, about why this topic matters?
And I think it's if you're looking to get fair and full compensation for your injuries, one of the most important things is you need to get a lawyer that knows what they're doing. If you're going about it yourself, or you have a lawyer that's inexperienced, you're not going to get the result you want, and you're not going to get the full measure of justice that you need. So what I would say is go to someone who's handled trucking cases before, who's proven themselves in the courtroom, who's had experience, and make sure that lawyer is a board certified civil trial lawyer, not just any lawyer. A lot of lawyers are what you call desk adjusters. They sit at their desk and just, push paper, but do they actually go into the courtroom? And the reason why I say that, insurance companies keep a tally on who's trying cases or not. There's metrics on this. They know what firms get results and what firms don't. And the reason I know this is I used to work for an insurance defense firm. So we used to defend trucking companies and other defendants. And part of your initial report when you get that case is who's the lawyer and who's the law firm defending, because they know if it's a lawyer that's inexperienced, they can just throw a little money in front of them and that case goes away, and that's not fair to the client, and it's really not fair to the system. Of course, insurance companies want to do this because they can take advantage of people. So make sure you get the right lawyer, the lawyer who has experience, the lawyer who's board certified, who can make a difference for your case.
Yeah, who's going to put the scare in the insurance company? I love that. Thank you for
Exactly.
this valuable insight. And thanks to everyone for tuning in to the Road to Recovery, Advocacy and Insights for Trucking Accidents with Sagi Shaked. For more information or to connect with Sagi, visit Shaked Law. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and review.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.